The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Open your eyes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Open Your Eye on today, Tuesday, January the 11th, our maiden show for the year. And I am joined, as always, with my joint host, lovely, the one and only, Miss Cindy Howell. How's it going, Cindy?
Hi, Kim. How are you?
I'm good. And of course, you are watching Open Your Eye here on the Pace Radio Network, the first video podcast focused on the use of psychedelics as a medicine, and the very first video podcast that launched them all here on the network as we transferred from radio to video.
Yes, which everybody at the network is so excited about, right?
Yeah, most. For most shows. We still have one straggler at the network, one and only, the namesake of our network, the talk show, the Pace Radio Show, is the last holdout to transfer into the world of video podcasting, and they remain audio only on the network's audio channels. But we're slowly, hopefully, moving in that direction to bring that show on board as well. We had our one and only show last week for our year in review in the Pace Radio's time slot to try that out. And it was a lot of fun. How was your break? We had 3 weeks off. How was it?
Fantastic. I had a great time. I had a fall, so I've been fighting back issues, but besides that, it was a pretty fantastic break. What about you?
I had a good time. We had a couple of glitches with generators and power failures, and a couple of little mini emergencies. Life off grid when you live in the middle of nowhere with no amenities, and there's just me and the old man, literally the old man. We're both getting up there in years, and it gets a little harder every year to maintain this kind of a lifestyle, but we're doing it, and it keeps you busy, keeps you hot.
It sure does. Oh my gosh. Yeah, but you're doing it. You guys are doing everything by yourselves. You're building everything by yourselves. And that's just epically amazing, right?
Yeah. It's we're having a lot of fun with it. A lot of hair pulling moments, but a lot of fun, a lot of experience and knowledge coming along with that. So it's been an adventure, and I'm enjoying it. For the most part, I'm enjoying it, except for of course the mini crises that happen. But as long as you get through them, you come out the other side and you can laugh. Then it's okay.
Yes. Septic systems going for swims and pools in the yard, and you've handled it all quite well.
It's been an interesting ride for sure. I'm excited for our new upcoming season. We've over the course of our break, when we weren't working, we were working. So for the show and to expand our interview space. So we've got some pretty epic stuff kicking up in the future. I mean, we've got plans in through March right now.
March to April,
there's a lineup at the door. There's a lineup at the door, and that's pretty exciting for our little show here.
No, it is. I mean, when like Kim said, over the break, we worked and we talked and we chatted with potential guests, and getting to the point where it's like, like we think we have it set in stone, and then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, these people, what do we do now? And we have to move everything around. But I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's nice.
We have to put them in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff. The world of psychedelics as a medicine is expanding and forever changing. So keeping up with it all is it's almost a full-time job now.
Yeah.
So it's been an exciting journey, and I look forward to for 2022 and some of the stuff we've got planned. We'll be bringing you patient interviews every other show. So once a month, we will have a patient interview and a one-on-one interview with a patient that is on their journey. Once a month, we will have somebody that is professional in the business. So whether that be an entrepreneur selling their wares, a shaman, facilitators of all kinds, lawyers. We're looking for a doctor to join us, to join our professional segments as well. So, nurses and all kinds. So we've got an exciting year planned, and we hope you enjoy what we give you this year in
Absolutely.
2022.
Yeah, it should be a fantastic year. I'm pretty excited.
For sure. For sure. And of course, we are seen here on Open Your Eye every other week on the 2nd and the 4th Tuesday of every month. And in between on those days, it is still Psychedelic Tuesday here at the Pace Radio Network. And of course, Cindy and I will join you live for our psychedelic news show called Psychedelic Reporters with the one and only Bufo Alvarius. But I'm really excited for tonight's guests. Tonight, our opening guests are pretty epic. We've got somebody lined up that a lot of people have been talking about over the years, for the last 4 years or so. Adrianne Robson is with us. And of course, it was her story that was documented in the documentary Dosed, that also had in it the shaman and the facilitator in that spoke on the Iboga as a medicine for the issues that Adrianne was going through. Of course, that was Mark Howard, and he joined us here on our very opening show when we first got started. So he's our first return guest. So I'm really excited for tonight.
Yes, absolutely. I'm really excited to have both of them on. As I've been pretty open about my journey. These are two of the people that guided me. They were two of the people that first showed me. I mean, Adrianne is the woman that put her story out there for the world to see, to help other people such as myself. And it's really cool to have her on the show.
Absolutely. So let's get to our very first commercial break. Real quick shout out here for Psychedelic Tuesdays. We're going to have a listen to that. And as soon as this quick break concludes, we will start our show with our two exciting guests tonight. Adrianne Robson and Mark Howard will be coming at you right after these messages. Next week on Psychedelic Tuesdays here on Pace Radio. Tune in at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for the Psychedelic Reporters. Bufo Alvarius is scouring the newswires for stories being reported in mainstream media on the psychedelic front, passing them on to joint host Cindy Howell and me, Kim Cooper, so we can bring them to you, our listeners, in this 60-minute video news podcast. Join us on Psychedelic Tuesdays each week at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for all your news and information from the world of psychedelic medicine.
Hey man, Psychedelic Tuesdays at 7 p.m. here on paceradio.net.
And there was our mascot here on Psychedelic Tuesdays, Mr. Bufo Alvarius himself, joining us in that commercial break with Cindy and I. Love Bufo. Hey, man, Gotta love Bufo.
Gotta love Bufo.
Gotta love Bufo. Gotta love Bufo. And with that, it is time to bring in tonight's very exciting guest. First, I would like to introduce everybody, all of our listeners and watchers out there, to a very special lady that has strength and courage that is admired by many across the globe for putting herself out there and taking the steps to share her story to help others and going on with that since the documentary was made. Patient advocate, I'd like to bring in at this time, I'd like to welcome Adrianne Robson. Adrianne, welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. So great to be here.
I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so
Pleasure to
much.
have you on the show.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Pleasure to have you on. We're excited to dive into your story. Before we do that, I'd like to introduce our second guest, who was the facilitator during your first journey and where the documentary is filmed for Dosed. And that facilitator is the one and only Mr. Mark Howard from IbogaSoul. Welcome back, Mark.
Hi.
Mark.
Yep. Happy 2022.
Happy 2020.
Happy News
Happy
Year is my
2022.
motto. Happy News Year.
News Year. Absolutely. That's awesome. That's fantastic. I want to start off by if there is anybody out there, I don't know of anybody personally, but if there is anybody out there that didn't personally see the movie or the documentary Dosed, let's start, Adrianne. How did you come to find out about this being made? How were you approached? And what went through your mind when they said, hey, we'd like to do this and we'd like you to be a part of it?
Yeah, it feels like ages ago now. Well, I'd heard rumblings about psychedelic therapy for some addiction treatment and depression in particular. And I was actually good friends with Tyler Chandler, who was the director of the film. And he'll tell you with his partner, Nick, that, they were kind of bouncing around some new ideas for a documentary. They wanted to make another film. And sort of independently, I had been talking to Tyler about how much I was struggling. I was really struggling with heroin addiction and depression and anxiety and just feeling like really, really hopeless. And I had been talking to Tyler, and he had recently tried psychedelics. He'd never had no experience with it. Neither had I with anything. We knew very little. And he just kind of asked me like, hey, have you ever thought about trying psychedelics? And I was, funnily enough, I just heard about it a few places. And I had just reached out to somebody. There was supposed to be a clinical trial happening in Vancouver. And I had reached out to one of the researchers because I heard it on the radio about, maybe being a part of a study. Because at this point, I was just so desperate. I'd been to treatments. I feel like I had tried everything. And, Tyler suggested hey, maybe, that's something you could try and maybe we could document it. And I just thought I'm 100% wanting to try that. So yeah, I don't know how much you want me to go into the whole thing now, but we just sort of started, Tyler mostly did so much research and reached out to people and eventually got in touch with Mark and and then we just started on this journey. And I know a number of times, we weren't sure if we were going to continue or what was going to happen. There was obviously no plan. It just sort of evolved really organically and the rest is history. And then
meant to be.
It was meant to be. It's very serendipitous. The way it all worked out. It was really, really amazing. Yeah.
Amazing. So rather than you being approached by Dosed, it was actually you guys that wound up going and tracking down Mark.
Yes.
So that brings us to Mark. Mark, what did you think? Were you excited by this? Were you, what was your first thoughts when these people came to you and said, hey, this is what we're doing and we want to take it further and we want your involvement?
I thought they needed to change the name of the documentary. I told them they're going to have to change it to macrodose instead of microdose, because I was familiar with what we do, and I knew that what she needed was going to be beyond the approach they were taking. At the time, I was actually pretty heavily involved with sort of working with people, so I was excited. Actually, I was like, it was kind of like, a really exciting time in my life to have the opportunity. I remember thinking, to get the message out to people, to be able to spread that. I felt like, I don't know, like if you guys look back at when you're a kid, maybe like look, it's either your birthday or let's try Christmas, and when you're really young and you kind of wake up and you walk down the stairs and you look under the tree and you get that excitement, seeing all the presents under the tree, or like being a little kid and just like your friends are there and you go in the back porch and it's sunny and you're so innocent. It's so nice. I mean, working with all this devastation, I just was really excited to really, like, when I discovered Iboga and realized the potential it had to sort of, really bring us back to that primal good feelings, like it was possible again to sort of look through the grass and peek back at like what life was like. I was amazed that this could happen. So I was just so excited to be able to like, share this. And then on the other hand was like the reality of the seriousness of all this. But I was at that point fairly confident. When Adrianne came in, it was like, I mean, I would happen to be at the turn of what I would say, like, you look back in time where heroin turned to fentanyl. And so a lot of the detox that I had been doing previously up to that point, like, a lot of them were involved with real actual heroin. So they were difficult. A lot of long nights and screaming and, long drawn out things, but the medicine had a ability to take it, pull it away and, return to calmness a little easier. Once we got into this crazy stuff, like Adrianne was, she was kind of at, I would say if you tracked it back to the timelines at the beginning of where, the street drugs started really becoming infused with chemicals that were not natural. Not saying heroin's natural, but opium is a more natural basis compared to benzodiazepines and fentanyl. So to answer the question, I was just very excited to be able to work with Adrianne and to share this story. It was also a little nerve-wracking, not nerve-wracking, but there was an element of you don't know, right? Like if we're putting our state, this is some pretty serious stuff. Like, Adrianne just happened to be an incredible person, to be honest. And I can get into more. I don't want to go on and on and on. So
meant to be. Yeah. Another meant to be. So it clicked. Everything came together, right time, right place for both of you, and the documentary got made. And thank goodness that it did. I know personally many people that this has helped, and anecdotally through chats and through other people, several more. And I mean, that's the whole point, right? If you can reach just one, well, this has reached thousands and has helped so many. You are one brave lady to put this on video.
Thank you.
How did you muster that?
Like I said, I don't think I ever, at the beginning of this journey, I don't think any of us knew that, one day Dosed is going to be playing on a big screen and like going to film festivals. And like, I wasn't really thinking about that. I was just sort of thinking, like Tyler said, like, why don't we try this and we can document it? And I was up for that. But like, we had no idea where this was going to go. And I definitely didn't imagine that Dose would have the success that it's had and reach the number of people that it has. And as Mark said earlier, like we were actually talking about microdosing because there was a lot of microdosing talk at the time. And like, clearly we knew nothing because microdosing and heroin detox is like not going to be sufficient. And I don't think any of us had ever even heard of Iboga or Ibogaine. So that wasn't even on our radar. So like I wonder like if I had known that I was going to like become what it did, I probably would have had a lot more fear. And like, I don't know if I don't particularly like being in the limelight. But yeah, it just sort of, kept evolving and, one thing led to another and we were led to more information and we just kept going and it was really hard at times. Obviously, like Mark said, it's it was some pretty heavy times. Yeah, it was challenging because I wasn't just
Well, you
using
can feel that. That came
Yeah.
through.
Oh, very easy to feel that.
That
Yeah.
came through.
Yeah.
That came through in that documentary, man. I mean, I'm normally I'm sitting like this. I'm basically sitting back. I'm relaxed in my chair. You know, I'm watching whatever I'm watching. I was watching that and I was like this, you know,
Yeah.
and
Every
you know,
time.
there was times I was like, oh, yeah, you know, and
Yeah.
doing one of these, you know, and it was, it's riveting to watch.
Yeah.
You can feel the emotion. I could relate in many ways because of my own past addictions. There was many things, possibly as a fellow past addict, that I spotted immediately, and I went,
Yeah, and I think that's
you
the
know,
thing. So many people can relate to it. It was so
Yeah.
real. It was
Very.
real.
Yeah, you didn't hide yourself at
Yeah.
all. You didn't put up a mask. You showed us who you were, you know, from beginning to end. But that's how you make that impact, and that's how you show people what is possible and what is out there. I mean, like I was invited to the movie based on I had just started microdosing. I'd been microdosing psilocybin for about a year at that point in time, and with some macros in there, but mostly microdosing. And somebody had gifted me tickets to go watch it at a library here in Nova Scotia. And they said, Cindy, this, you know, you would find this very interesting. So I went with my pad of paper and I thought, okay, I'm going to go learn something from, you know, this documentary. And I didn't dream. I sat there and watched it with 600 people, and we couldn't have even imagined what we watched. Like, I mean, like it was audible gasps coming from the entire audience at times. And we all ended up with the exact same question at the end of the movie. It's like, how do we find that? And I don't know about the other 599 people, but I was very lucky to find it within 2 years. So I feel very blessed that I got to watch what you guys did.
It was a need to know more.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, that's like the number one question I get, like when we do screenings, or people like, how can I access this? Like, I really related to your journey, your story. And like you said, Kim, like recognizing like other people who have had addiction issues, can really relate to what I went through and the struggle, because it is hard to access the help that we need a lot of times. And a lot of the things that, you know, are accepted in mainstream have not worked for a lot of people, unfortunately.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right. Addiction, it can branch out to anything too. It's not just, you know, street drugs and that. For me, in my case, it was fentanyl, but it was doctor prescribed. Right. I mean, I was going and picking up my patches, you know, twice a month at the pharmacy. Right. But it's an addiction nonetheless, and it destroys your life. And then when you finally figure out you're addicted and you tell the doctor, you say, hey, I think I'm addicted. And they say, oh, well, we can't have that. Now they're going to cut you off. Well, now you're going through withdrawals. And that's when you wind up going to the street, because you have to cure your withdrawals. And I mean, now the vicious train is going down the tracks, right? And for many, this is how it happened. This is how it happened for me was, hey, it's got to be all right. The doctor said it's all right. Wrote that little piece of paper. We're good. We're good. Right.
And like, wow, the details
you know,
of the
there's
story.
Millions out there going through that.
And like I think, like you said, the details our stories are all different, but underneath the feelings and the experience is the same. Like for a lot of us. The core of it, exactly. So, and especially like with you know, people, I think I imagine it would be harder to recognize that if it's doctor prescribed, because we think like, oh, that's like, okay, like somebody gave this to me, rather than, you know, getting drugs from the street potentially. Right. So, but it
took me 8 years to figure it out.
Because
Yeah.
you just think you're doing what this person
that I
told
was
you
addicted.
to do. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. You know, and then, you know, you find out about these natural things that are out there. There's been advancements, not necessarily with Iboga or Ibogaine, but in the psilocybin space as of recently, just a few days ago, Health Canada authorized use of psilocybin as an authorized medicine now. They're supposed to be able to process applications within 48 hours rather than weeks, making patients wait. And that was just announced a few days ago. So there
That's through
is
the special access
advancements
program, right?
going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where it was taking, you know, upwards sometimes 6 months to get your application seen by the doctor. Now, once received by the doctor, 48 hours. You're going to have your
Wow.
authorization for use in your hand in 48 hours. So, I mean, that's a huge step forward in the psychedelic space. And we're seeing these kind of strides being made, I think, largely in part due to people like yourself that are speaking up and telling their story. I mean, Dosed was huge. Mark, of course, was part of a few other documentaries that Cindy and I have also enjoyed over time. But Dosed opened the door for many of those other documentaries to be sought out and found because it resonated with so many people. Do you get approached on a regular basis?
It does seem like Dose kind of, because it's just all over the place now. Like this, like so much has happened since we started filming, just especially in Canada, but in other places too. And it does seem like it's really opened up a conversation. And I get approached by people that I would have never thought would be interested in, you know, psychedelics now. Like it's just becoming so much more accepted and so much less stigmatized. I mean, definitely when I go to psychedelic events or within the community, like people know who I am and they've seen the movie. I have had a few instances where I've just been out in public or like at work and somebody has recognized me, which is really strange. But I often have people reaching out to me through social media or, you know, other people in recovery that are aware of my story asking like, letting me know how powerful and helpful me sharing my story was, which means so much to me because, you know, like I didn't know this was all gonna play out the way it did. But as we went along, I thought, you know, I started to think about how important it was that I share my story and, you know, if this worked and the benefit that I was getting from, you know, psychedelics, like that I needed to share that with other people. And yeah, it's so meaningful and powerful to me to hear from other people how much Dosed has affected them. So yeah.
That's fantastic. I want to dive right in and ask you about what you've been doing since, but I want to keep that for our second segment.
Okay.
I'm going to throw Mark back up in here for a quick sec. We got some background now on Adrianne. I'd like to go further in with you a little bit before we dive into Adrianne's story further. Mark, this wasn't the first or the only documentary that you've been involved with. Which one was first? Was it MicrodoseMe was first, or was that, have I got the order wrong?
So the name of Dosed was MicrodoseMe to begin with, and then we changed. It got changed to Dosed. So this was the original one.
Okay.
This is my first on camera. And then the second one was the Psychedelic Frontier.
Yeah.
With the veteran, and then the third one, I don't even know if people have seen it yet, and I only have a very small part in that one. It's called The World on Drugs. There's a lot of people in that one. It's only 20.
That's the third one.
Yeah, I don't know if people have seen that yet, but I just have a little snippet of it. It's like it's cool little like 10 seconds or something. But I mean, the really difficult ones were these two. These are I'm driven to like, you know, just like it's super difficult and putting everything on the line like this. Like, I mean, this is stressful stuff, man. Like to be on camera filming this type of stuff, like you're putting everything on the line. This is no joke. And I think that's what resonates with people. Why I like it so much is because there's, you know, since Adrianne, there's 11 people that I've given Iboga to that are dead. And it's all from fentanyl. It's 11 people. You know, Adrianne's probably met some of them, probably knows some of them. And, you know, and I'm so proud of Adrianne for being a person who, you know, who made it, you know, who actually like, you know, made it through and used the, not only the medicine as something to help her get clean, but also the messages that she received while she was, you know, using the medicine to help her continue to keep her life in order. She's a great person. So are all these people. It's just, these drugs are devastating. So one of the best things that have come from the documentaries and which which, you know, were some of the biggest factors that drove me to push through them, was to be able to, like, you know, not to these days, to have an informational piece of media material to give to someone to sit down and watch. You know, like, you know, I'm anywhere. I'm just in Mexico last week, and I have an addict knocking on my door over there. Like, you know, it doesn't matter. And I say, the first thing now I say to them is like, listen, go watch Dosed. Go watch Dosed. Just then I'll talk to you afterwards. Just go watch Dosed first. Psychedelic Frontier, that's a bit that was intense. So and that's another one that, you know, has exploded. It's at like, I don't know, 1.3 million views on YouTube now as of recently, kind of like comments from around the world. It's really good, these things. I mean, you know, we're not famous or anything crazy like that, but it's just so nice to know that, you know, we were able to reach people and resonate. Like, it's the truth that resonates with people. Like, this was made for the people who are struggling. You know, this wasn't made for big pharma to come in. And, well, actually, I was hoping, you know, I would say I was a really, like, you know, maybe they would see the benefit of this. Oh my God, someone's going to recognize this and come swooping in and give us funding and do all this kind of stuff. But no, that never happened. But what it did do is, you know, it's exactly what you guys were just talking about. Like, when you're watching it, because people recognize the truth within it, and there's actually the codes of healing, like, are shown. What Adrianne went through was real. What I was talking to her, and the way I was trained, and is real. And that's how the medicine does it, you know. And it got people like, you know, Kim, to go to recognize something like this and bring it on her show. You know what I mean? Cindy to go to do the medicine, who I was watching from the back scenes while that was happening, talking to Patrick and Gareth and all that, you know, like, just paying attention to all this kind of stuff. So, it's really great. You know, the Dose was the first one. And like I said, it was just it blew up. It was kind of like, you know,
it did
a wild thing. And, you know, what it was before the first premiere, Adrianne, we did Iboga. Again, nobody really knows about that. Like, you know, like, this medicine is good.
It was a year later. It was almost exactly a year later that we did that, which was like 2 or 3 years ago now. Almost 3 years. Yeah. It's a great tool, and I feel like, you know, really proud of us for what we were able to accomplish, and to get it out there to, you know, more than one people. Like, there's been so many people that have seen it, you know, and it's tough. I would you know, almost getting my life. I want to see something happen. Like, you know, it's hard to, even after this, then what? You guys had a great question. Then what? Now what? You know, then now what? We got hit with this pandemic. Like, holy, everybody's like, you know, addicts get pushed to the bottom of the table over here. Like, you know what I mean? There's more deaths from overdose than COVID, I think, to be honest. You know, so.
Oh, for sure.
But if you just quickly, I'll snip this up. Like, I mean, I was just going to say, like, when the internet first came out, people didn't even know there was an internet. All they knew there was Gmail. And it wasn't until like a few years later, till another application came out, do they realize the real benefit of what was underneath the email was the internet. And it wasn't like till like 20 years later, till your grandmother was actually using email. Do you know what I mean? So it's new. We're fresh out of the gates with it, you know, and getting that word around. Think of all the people now that have, like, you know, altered their life in a positive direction, or changed course in what they're learning, and all these things are coming into play, you know. So these seeds have been planted. We're really stoked, and I'm super proud of Adrianne and her cool glasses. For, you know, it really needs to be noted here. You know, I was just thinking about the other day, because you taught me the term. You can't just throw, you know, the dirty water, the baby out with the bathwater. But it really needs to be noted, like, how much it takes someone to really want to do this. And if they really want to do this, then, you know, we can do this. I don't know how to, like, you know, there's so much that needs to go around this. There's so much education. There's so much infrastructure. There's so much, like, safe use of the medicine. There's so many traditional aspects in the way we do things. And there's so many things to do with integration and aftercare. There's so much of a community that needs to be built around this. You know, and I think back to the original question, that's why this documentary was so important. And I hope that, you know, there's more that comes out, right? And the more we even, this show right now touches one more person to go do this, you know, change the course, because there is options out there, and they should be, you know, highly exploited. It just seems like there's almost like, it's tough, man. It's really tough to see, like, even reaching this many people and this much stuff, to still not really have any hands kind of reach out to give these options to build a community around this, this big container that's necessary to help people.
Well, Kim says it a lot, and it's something that sticks in my brain. And we hear it from a lot of the patients, and I heard this from Adrianne as well when I rewatched Dose before we came into the show. Everybody that's going into it seems to be desperate. It's a last resort. I've tried everything. I mean, you wouldn't believe the amount of medications I was on. I tried alcohol. I tried cocaine to numb my brain. I tried everything. And Kim's like, I think the end game is what Kim keeps saying. When we get to a time when this is the first thing we try versus the last thing we try, and I believe that really speaks to me.
Why is it the last resort?
Yeah. Why can't I go into my go into my psychiatrist and, you're suffering from bad PTSD, and have something like this to be the first thing that we try versus slowly killing me on pharmaceuticals over the years, and that makes
exactly. I was going to bring that up as well. I'm glad you did.
Well, the first time you said it, man, you said it to my daughter actually, and it really hit me like a ton of bricks. It's like, holy shit, the years I've lost if they had only done this first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why is it last? I mean, Health Canada just, did this whole thing where they're going to get you your answer in 48 hours now. But that's one of the criteria that's there. You have to have proved to them that you have exhausted all other avenues first. You've tried every drug that they have. You've tried all of the psychotherapies. You've tried all of the crazy, insane shit that they're wanting to pump into your body, that winds up putting you on a train of addiction eventually, or messes up with the synapses in your brain so badly that you don't know if you're coming or going. You have to have done all of that first. And then now they'll grant you the right to use a natural therapy.
Yeah, people have to suffer so needlessly for so long. Yeah. And I think I wanted to point out too, like the community thing, like Mark touched on it too, like the community, having that community is so important too. Like it takes a village, and but like, I agree. Why do people have to wait until, they've suffered so much and so much destruction in their lives?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You've got to be desperation point. You've got to be exhausted all other avenues, when, you could have just wasted, 2, 5, 10 years of your life exhausting all these other avenues. And then lo and behold, you go down this path of natural psychedelic medicine. And it's like, the sky's open, the angels sing, everything is wonderful once again. And it's like, well, why didn't we do this first?
Mm-hmm. Because at least in my experience, like a lot of the pharmaceuticals did was just numb. It just numbed everything and kept everything down. It wasn't actually like dealing with anything or looking at anything or learning coping mechanisms or anything like that. It was just like, getting me to function day to day, barely function. And at a certain point, like they just stopped working for me if they ever were working. So it's like not a long-term solution. It was a Band-Aid solution. And that may be necessary for some people. That's a personal choice, but like psychedelics have allowed me to live my life, and I'm constantly like still learning and growing, and recovery is going to be a lifelong process for me. And psychedelics are a way for me to, continue that growth and recovery.
Yeah. And it makes me a little bit crazy to know, you're suffering from drug addiction, and there's a medicine that can help you. That's a natural plant that's out there. But it's like, oh no, you're addicted to drugs. Oh no, take this sanctioned drug to replace that drug that you're already addicted to. And we're going to have you take this drug instead.
Which is what they do with methadone. Like they come across people methadone. And like, they help, they want to give you methadone. I lost a friend because he decided he needed to get off methadone. He decided he was going to take that adventure, and he did it the wrong way, and it killed him. because he, the doctors wanted to up it and he wanted to get off of it.
Yeah, I struggled to have doctors, get me off methadone. Like I would explain to them that this wasn't something that I wanted to do anymore, and it wasn't like a long-term solution for me. And yeah, they kept wanting to increase my dose, not help me get off it. And
they resist.
Yeah, they resist. And it was unfortunate because I had to, I needed medical assistance to get off some of these drugs, but like I couldn't ask my doctors for the help because I had to keep what I was doing secret. The few doctors I did share what I was doing with were generally not supportive. I did have a few medical professionals be supportive and interested and approach me with curiosity, but they wouldn't help me. I kind of had to do it by myself to like get off methadone and switch to something else. And like, and it's unfortunate that I didn't have that support from a lot of the medical community too, just to keep me safe. I mean, I was safe because I was able to find people in the psychedelic community with medical training, but it was tough. It was like, jumping through all these hoops and obstacles, and it just shouldn't have been that hard.
No, it shouldn't have been. I ended up extremely lucky once I decided to once I had seen Dosed and decided to move forward and reached out to Mark. My psychiatrist, bam, she was on board. Mm-hmm. Wow. Now, after watching stuff for the last couple of years, she's going for ketamine training, so she can have a ketamine clinic here in Nova Scotia and help people that way. She feels very secure. Yeah.
Cindy's blessed for the doctor that is embracing knowledge rather than shoving it away, and she's good with it being natural therapy, which is not a common thing in today's medical industry that is out there. So hats off to her for that, for sure. All right, I want to dive into what's happened since Dosed. The movie, kind of at the end of the documentary, we were all left a little hanging. Is she gonna make it? Is she gonna revert? Is she strong enough? Oh God, I hope she makes it. Come on, all those good vibes were coming out there to you, and everybody was pulling for you. Excuse me. We can see just from seeing you right here, right now. You absolutely made it. You look marvelous, darling. And I want to dive into all of that and what has happened since the epic show that premiered 4 years ago this month. But first, we got to take a commercial break and pay some bills here on Open Your Eye. So it is medication time, and I'm choking. Excuse me, choking on my own words. Medication time to pay some bills. So we're going to hear from our sponsors, and then Cindy and I will be right back after the break. And you're listening and watching Open Your Eye here on paceradionetwork. Next week on Psychedelic Tuesdays here on Pace Radio. Tune in at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for the Psychedelic Reporters. Bufo Alvarius is scouring the newswires for stories being reported in mainstream media on the psychedelic front, and passing them on to joint host Cindy Howell and me, Kim Cooper, so we can bring them to you, our listeners, in this 60-minute video news podcast. Join us on Psychedelic Tuesdays each week at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for all your news and information from the world of psychedelic medicine.
Hey, man. Psychedelic Tuesdays at 7 p.m. here on paceradionetwork.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
The People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network, found at paceradio.net, provides its listeners with news, information, and a place to be heard. This is done through our 5 weekly live video and audio broadcasts that cover cannabis and psychedelic news, plus those we interview. We get started Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern with the Reefer Reporters. Then at 9 p.m. we're live with Canada Quebec. Tuesday brings you Open Your Eye or the Psychedelic Reporters at 7 p.m. Wednesday at 8, we are live with the Pace Radio Show. But we're not done yet, because on Thursday, the Reefer Reporters return with another Reefer Report. Meanwhile, once a month, Thursdays bring you the Grassroots Advocate, the Pace Radio Network's audio magazine. All these shows, plus more, are found right here on paceradio.net.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
What is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network? It's a network of people advocating cannabis education.
CP operates a medicinal cannabis signing clinic. If you want to grow your own medicinal cannabis and are located anywhere in Canada, then I'd like to suggest that you give them a call. They can be reached at 1-613-967-9888. That's 1-613-967-9888. And grow on with CP.
Who has huge buds? You do, if you shop at BMA Hydroponics. Attend one of BMA's educational seminars and learn the secrets of growing, harvesting, processing, and consuming quality cannabis and cannabis products. Learn how to make better extracts, edibles, and medicinal creams at prices you can afford. Visit BMA Hydroponics at 404 Maitland Drive, Belleville, or call 613-967-9888. The only way to go.
We are People Advocating Cannabis Education here at paceradio.net.
And we're back from our medication session once again. And of course, you are tuned in here to Open Your Eye on the Pace Radio Network at paceradio.net. And yeah, we're live as we always are. But that's this much of a little bit of a fib. We're live while we record this week. Tonight's guest wasn't available in our usual time slot, so we pre-recorded this one just a little bit early. We will pass on any questions during the live show to our guests and get answers for you through the apps that we are available on. And with that, let's bring our guest back in, shaman and facilitator, Mr. Mark Howard, and of course, the subject of the movie Dosed and the documentary Dosed, Miss Adrianne Robson. Welcome back, guys. I hope you enjoyed our little commercial segments there.
Mhm.
Yeah, lots of cannabis news on our shows.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's how it
Lots
started.
of cannabis ads.
Yeah. It's really
Yeah.
cool that you have a new show. I'm definitely going to check that out. I didn't know that you did the new show. So
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, we cover mainstream media news. There's a lot being discussed in mainstream media these days, and
So
the
much.
scientific journals
Wow.
and that kind of thing, studies.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs getting in on the scene. Anything if it makes one of the newspaper. We're out there at that ticker every week, scouring the news wires, and pulling out anything that's psychedelic based and report on it a couple of times a month. For our listeners and our followers out there. So it's pretty cool. Bufo Alvarius is part of that
I
show.
like that. Yeah.
Our little mascot. All right. So we covered Dosed, the backgrounds on you guys. Let's step forward since the doc was released. You talked a little bit about being approached and that kind of thing. I know for me and everybody else out there for a very long time after seeing it, we were on the edges of our seat, as I said before the break, pushing out those good vibes to you, going, oh, come on, Adrian, you got this, man, you got this. And, so hoping that it was all going to work. Look, I'm getting teary. We were invested in you, man. And obviously, you've done well.
Thank you.
So
That's
tell
so
us
nice.
about what it's been like since then.
Yeah. Wow. Well, yeah. So it's been almost 4 years since I was at IbogaSoul. I think on February 21st, that will be my sobriety date or my recovery date. 4 years, which is wild. And a lot has happened in those 4 years for everyone. Yeah, so I can't even remember when the movie first premiered in a theater. It must have been in 2019 as well. In
May.
It was in May?
In May, yeah.
Of 2019. Okay. Yeah. So I yeah, the movie really picked up momentum. I know it did really well in Australia. So I was kind of doing that. Like I went to a few premieres. We actually ended up going to LA, which is really cool. I had the opportunity to work with a provider. So I was, for about a year there, I was sitting for people doing mushroom sits, which was like so powerful. Like I love doing that so much. I love holding space for other people. It's so powerful. So that kind of got me thinking about like where I wanted to go with my life. Like it was such an exciting time because I had my whole life ahead of me now. Like my life was so different. Before it was just consumed and revolved around getting and using drugs in whatever way. So my life was really small and it was really tough. And it's just like the whole world opened up. Yeah, so I got to do some cool stuff with the movie. Unfortunately, like it was supposed to start its like official worldwide premiere in New York. The film got like a distributor, I think, and in March of 2020. Obviously that didn't happen. So that was a bit of a bummer, not a bit of a bummer, like a really big bummer for the film, because I feel like it was just really starting to take off and get momentum. Like it was doing really well in theaters all over the world, in particular in Australia. So yeah, things really changed as far as like how involved I was in the film around there. And but I've been doing lots. My recovery has changed a lot, just like how it looks and how I view recovery. Like for the first year or so, like I would say I was still really involved with like abstinence only programs, like 12-step programs. And just like the way that I think about recovery, and like I'm more interested in harm reduction. And there was always like a bit of a conflict with that with me, because I was still using psychedelics, and like probably in some people's eyes, that's not what they consider sobriety. But for me, it's more about quality of life now, less about this like black and white dichotomy of like sober and clean. Like I don't think about recovery like that anymore. It just doesn't make sense for me. And I don't think it's like particularly helpful. So yeah, I've gone through like a really big transition about that. And I've continued to use, psychedelics. I try to do at least one big mushroom sit a year, like 5 to 7 grams. I think I'm like feeling due for that pretty quick. I started working with 5-MeO, DMT as well, which has been
that's amazing.
Yes,
That's where I'm at. That's my next step is the DMT. I am so excited. That's my next step. I'm on my own journey as well. And as soon as somebody mentions DMT, I get very excited because I'm anxious to take that next step for myself. And after my research, I've decided that's my next step as well.
Yeah, it's such a powerful medicine, and it's just so different. But I mean, I've gotten a little bit, from all different kinds of psychedelics, of medicine. They're all like special in their own way. I haven't done Iboga for a really long time, or Ibogaine. So, that's on my radar too. I think that would be really helpful. But yeah, I guess where I'm at right now is, I've decided like I want to go back to school, to be a counselor and like hopefully work with psychedelics. So I'm looking at doing a master's in counseling. So I've kind of been going back to school, taking classes here and there to work towards that. I'm hoping to get back into doing sits, working with somebody that's providing medicine and do that, because I'm really, really passionate about that. And yeah, I've just been, volunteer work has been really important for me. I volunteer at a wildlife rescue. And I've also started volunteering at a crisis center as a crisis responder. And that's been really life-changing too. Like I absolutely love doing that, like holding space and like listening to other people and supporting other people, because I've been there like on the other end of that phone. So I think psychedelics have really, like at the end of the day, it just really showed me what was important. Like I just completely shifted my priorities and like what was important and where I wanted to go in life. And that's what they've helped me to do. And I'm, working at that every day. So yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
Obviously these last few years have been tough. Been a lot of, it's been tough for everybody. So I feel like I'm a little bit disconnected from the community. Like I was really connected to the psychedelic community here in Vancouver. And I feel like I haven't been, just because it's been hard to be connected with any community, really.
Yeah. I connect everywhere.
Yeah.
When everywhere. We're all feeling that.
When I came home, one of the things that I said to Kim, again, on many occasions is like, the community that I'm at everybody was in Vancouver. Everybody was in BC. I took ceremony in Vancouver with Gareth and Blair, and then we went to Maple Ridge to do the 5-MeO. So when I came home, I felt very disconnected because everybody was on the other side of the country, and I don't know the psychedelic community here in Nova Scotia. Everything's shut down. There are no meet and greets. They hardly have. I mean, like there's not a lot of manning. The emails, like they're getting better with it now, but like everything was so shut down that people it just wasn't happening. So when I came home last August, it was quite strange for me. For the integration was really hard. I was pretty much doing it on my own with my psychiatrist every 2 weeks, I think, and I think that I'm not sure what would have helped because it was my first time going through it, but it very disconnected from the whole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like things are.
You can both speak. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. Sorry.
You both could speak to this. Cindy and I have spoken on many occasions with other guests as well as in private about the comparisons. Of course, we are originally from the cannabis world, at cannabis advocacy and using cannabis as medicine. I've been a cannabis advocate and patient for well over 40 years. And that's the world that I come from. So for me, embracing other natural and holistic remedies, it's a natural fit. I used psychedelics in my youth, growing up in the 70s and being a teen in the 70s. Psychedelics were part of life back then for recreational purposes, of course, because we didn't know about the medicinal values of them that we are aware of now. But we see now, coming from that world, psychedelics is following much the same path as cannabis has over the years, but at an accelerated rate. But things are moving a lot faster. Partly, I think, because cannabis paved that road for other natural therapies to have a little bit of a less bumpy ride. But the community itself is not growing in mindset as quickly as acceptance is, in my view. I think there's still the hiding, there's still the hesitancy to speak about it. It is still illegal, and people are afraid of speaking up. There's not as much free-flowing information because of the legalities and the risks that everybody is taking by coming forward with this. Do you find that has changed at all with the garnered acceptance that something like Dosed gave?
I can just be, I definitely think that there's more acceptance, like just people in my life too, that I would consider like quite traditional or conservative are definitely more open to it. And in Vancouver, I don't know very much about like the cannabis side of it and cannabis legalization, but I do know that there's mushroom shops popping up kind of all over in Vancouver now. Every time I go somewhere new, there's like posters or there's little shops that have just popped up and they're just there. And so I think a lot of cities, there have been decrim movements, and I think governments are starting to recognize that there needs to be a shift in policy, and that hopefully kind of getting the message that the war on drugs is not working and in fact quite harmful. I feel like there's a shift, but Mark might know more about that, or I don't know what you think, Mark, but
you're embedded in there.
What's that?
You're embedded in that community. So is there a shift in the mindset amongst the original crew, so to speak, the original core that was, same as with cannabis, we were all used to being underground and quiet. You don't know what's there unless you know it's there, kind of thing. And, hiding from the law and all of that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, boom, there was dispensaries everywhere and vapor lounges popped up. And we just went from underground to about outground. And it seems like that's what's happening with psychedelics right now. As Adrian said, there's mushroom shops popping up in Vancouver and that. Are people opening up more? Are we not as hidden anymore?
I think, like a lot of, I think it's like being with the same thing that's going on with COVID, like, like with constant changing of the narrative that comes out, people started waking up to like, okay, what's really going on, and what agenda is what. So I think what happens with is the level of drugs are so bad, and then people are pushed to desperation that some people that might never have like looked into something like this all of a sudden are like, maybe we should. I think that mushrooms and cannabis, it's always been underground in Canada. I don't see any particular mind-bending shift with what I do, because Iboga is up there on a very different level than most things. Yeah, understandably. But definitely, I'm sure it's obvious there's a big shift when it comes to cannabis or ketamine or MDMA or 5-MeO or, all these, basically the shift within what can these alternative medicines, how can they help with mental health. I think that's what we're seeing is a shift in the approach that, we need to look at different alternatives towards the pharmaceutical approach, the standardized, clinical white suit, write something out on a pad, if it doesn't work, write something else out. I think we realize, that doesn't always work. So I think the veil's been lifted about some of the truth is coming out. And, we're just waiting to bust out as a people. You know what I mean? Like, if there was support from, institutionalized systems that, you said cannabis paves the way, but a lot of it is money too, and so like the money that was created from cannabis, then they start pouring in the next thing. So it's a lot of these, like, none of that starts up. And then Health Canada gets on board. So it's hard to say, are we coming into a revolutionary shift as people where we actually want to help people? Because it's pretty nuts. Like from what I've seen, obviously it's like you can offer something with this much like robust probability. Can you imagine people jumped on board with us, with little guys like us, what we did, what I learned from going to Africa and what Adrianne did by being brave enough to take it in front of all these people, like what we did 4 years ago just on our own, to show a reality, to show a truth to people, to like pierce through the veil and reach out through the TV screens into someone's, hurting soul. What we're able to do on that level. Can you imagine what would happen if we just got support and help?
Yeah, it would be beautiful. It would be a huge step into curing the world and helping the world.
Yeah. So what is the real narrative? What do we want? What do people want? What is going on? Is it help they want, or is there more like, and this gets crazy. We're crazy enough for coming out and speaking out like we did and like I do and like we have and like showing what we do. But, it's just question what's the real narrative and what do we want as humans and what do we want as people? These medicines are available, like, and, safe use and sustainability is possible, and it's just, what do we really want? And so especially, it's wild. Like we're on our way for it to go to the North American tour, and the last place it played was my hometown in a movie theater that was right beside the school that I went to when I grew up. I actually went there as a kid and sat in the projector room. So, my family went to it, and it was right when COVID hit. It was the last place that I played at. And so since that, this thing is just like, people don't care enough right now. Like they're struggling for their own lives. They're just trying to decide whether or not to get the vaccine, to like, send their kids to school. They're struggling, struggling with masks, struggling with going out. Families are torn apart. People's ideals are ripped apart all over here. This, that, like it's definitely been a time, but what could happen from that is that fertile ground of desperation that is created could be enough to like, sprout these seeds of awakening that are going to come out. And then, stuff like these options are here. We know that. I think what has happened is that for those who want it, it's available.
And I think there's a greater need, just given everything that's happened over the last 2 years, there's a greater need for mental health resources, and like what the system that we do have in place is not enough. And it's, it's overtaxed, and and also like the opioid crisis has been, or the drug poisoning crisis has just been exacerbated. And, I think like in BC, that's 5 people a day die of overdose. So something has to shift, because like what we're doing is not working. It's just getting much, much worse. And like Mark said, a lot of people have died, needlessly. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a piss off, it's a piss off. And it goes back to, what Cindy has quoted me as saying many times, and I've been saying this forever. Why is it last resort? People are broken before they're allowed to do this. If this wasn't last resort, if it was frontline medicine, how many lives would be saved? Because they're not on the train of try this and it fails, and try this and it fails, and try this and it fails. After so many failures where you're already in a vulnerable state, no matter what the reason is, whether it's mental health or addiction or our current situation and circumstances. No matter what the trauma is that's going on, several failures in a row is enough to sink you. So why not try something that has a higher proven success rate as a first resort rather than a last resort? And I think the times we live in right now, microdosing, for those that are even just, minorly struggling to get through this, can prevent you from winding up on that big snow hill going down fast. Microdosing and the use of psychedelics, I think right now is more important than ever.
Yeah.
There's so much potential, and yeah, like you said, it's needless suffering. Like, why do people have to? There's that idea in recovery sometimes that people have to hit bottom before they get sober or get into recovery, and I just don't think that that's necessary. I don't think you have to go all the way to the bottom and crash and burn. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I don't buy it. Yeah, I don't buy it. I don't buy that narrative either. That's not true. If they were offered something that's going to work, it's this roller coaster, try this that is going to fail because it's failed so many before you. And we're not a stupid species. We know these things going in. Yeah, I'll try it, but I doubt it's going to work. That's the mindset going in. And inevitably it doesn't work. Because it's just substituting another drug for a drug or a Band-Aid solution for a mental issue that isn't being addressed. All of my experience with psychedelic medicines, yes, the psychedelics do a reset in your head. They do something in there and they make you see stuff from a different light and you're able to reconcile stuff. And this is across the board for all psychedelics. But I think the important factor is the facilitator, people like Mark, guiding you through that process and helping you evaluate what's happening and truly look at what you're being shown rather than burying it. And the facilitators that are out there like Mark that have learned about all of this can make all the difference in the world.
Yeah,
it takes a combination, it takes a big combination. And, it amazes me, like I said, if we just get these pieces put together, we're going to see a lot of positive healing. Because, when you have someone who really wants it, and then you have someone who really wants to help, and then you have the proper medicines to be able to facilitate that union, we're going to see tremendous progress within the human civilization, where, you go from dying to living.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It takes a tribe, right? I'm on that kick right now. Me and love my tribe. Hashtag love my tribe. And, and it takes a tribe, and every tribe has a spiritual guide. And, thank goodness for that.
And I think like the really, one of the things I love about psychedelic medicine is it's empowering, it's not other people that are healing you or curing you. It's like, it's giving you the power to look inside yourself and have a shift in perspective and, help yourself and make changes yourself. It's so much more empowering than having this idea of like someone else coming out and fixing you. Like, that's not what's happening. It's you doing the work, and it's not changing you fundamentally as a person. It's still you. You're just finding the true you and really connecting with yourself. Because for me, like, addiction was really disconnecting. Like, I was disconnected and alienated from other people, but also from myself. And it's helped me to connect with myself and get to know myself and who I really am. And that's led me to be happier in life. I'm not trying to be somebody else. Or live this life that I feel like I needed to live or live up to expectations. That's something I still struggle with, like we all do, but it's really helped give me more focus and perspective on like what's important to me in this short time that I have here on earth.
Beautiful.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have to We have to know who we are at our core, right? And accept who we are. Be okay with who we are, because that's who we are. So let's not try and be someone else, because, wearing that mask, that costume, that gets heavy after a while. That's a lot to lug around, man. And, eventually we all get tired, right? I was going to ask, now you've talked about, doing, sits and that with using psilocybin. You've been, your journey was with Iboga. You've had experience with several psychedelics over the time. We discussed a little bit about DMT when I got all giddy and excited. Whenever I hear the word DMT, I automatically start smiling. I can't help it. It just happens. It's like a reflex. Do you have one that you gravitate towards, just to sort of keep your peace? Is there one in particular? Is there explain what the differences are? Like, if when you need a reset, do you go to a different one? When you want calm, do you go to one? How does that process work for you?
I mean, I think the one that I have used most when I feel like I need a reset is psilocybin. And I mean, I think they all provide, all the medicines provide something very different. But I would say that one, because really it's like the safest that I can use with just, a friend sitting for me. I can't just, do Iboga by myself. There's a lot more involved as far as like the safety profile of Iboga. With psilocybin, it's so much more, readily available and safe. And that's something I can just do when I'm feeling like I'm getting off track or I'm like losing focus. But I've been working more with 5-MeO DMT. That's also like, it seems like it's becoming more popular and more easily accessible. Again, not something that I would say that you should just do like by yourself randomly. Like it's definitely something you should know about a little bit and have at least have someone who knows what they're doing with that. I also don't think it's quite difficult to come by. It's definitely not, it's like I said, it's becoming more popular and well known, but I don't think it's always been so accessible to a lot of people. So they all just have their own, spirits and I think they're all super helpful. I've never tried MDMA therapy. I've kind of like, just because of my history with stimulants, and I would want to make sure that I use that in a really safe space. And had like really good intention. And just be sure what I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
Yeah. And that's the new thing that we're learning, Cindy, about old ways of doing things compared, like recreational values, compared to looking at this as a medicine.
Absolutely. One of the things we talked about was ketamine. Yeah.
And
it
your
really
environment
makes a difference in context. Like it's psychedelics can be fun too. It can be something fun to just do with friends and like, but it really changes a lot, and it can just be a totally different experience when you go in with a medicinal intention or like a healing intention.
Absolutely. 100%. Kim and I have actually both been lucky enough to watch somebody have an amazing reset when she went in with the intention for rec. It was a fun time amongst friends, and we got to witness a very beautiful reset. And it was very unexpected, came out of nowhere, and but it was a pretty amazing experience, and that's just coming from somebody from the outside.
Yeah, I definitely hear a lot of stories about that too. Like when people tell me about their experience with psychedelics, a lot of times, that wasn't their intention going in, or they didn't necessarily know that there was something that they wanted to change or look at in their life. It just sort of happened. So that can happen too.
It happens. Yeah. Mushrooms, I find that with mushrooms, you go into a situation with mushrooms and you have your intent. Oh, this is what I plan on for tonight. Mushrooms don't care about your plans.
No, not at
That's
all.
what I've come to the conclusion with, as they do not care about your plans. They're going to give you exactly what you need,
Yeah,
whether you
yeah.
like
You
it
can
or
think
not.
that you need something, but you might get something totally different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They can be unpredictable that way.
Yeah.
It's always important to me to have someone like a sober sitter there for me personally, just because that can happen. It can be something totally unexpected. Something might come out that you weren't even expecting. And for me, it's so important to have someone there to just, sometimes just hold my hand through that.
Well, we were lucky on our particular trip night with the Cindy night, as Cindy was talking about. We were lucky in the respect that Cindy had just returned from her Iboga. And so her reset happened with Iboga. So her tolerance level was in the toilet. She couldn't handle absolutely anything. So she did like this little minuscule dose of the mushrooms and still got, pretty stoned off of it, right?
That's the thing about
but
Iboga.
Nonetheless, we were at least we were all in the presence of mind in the atmosphere we were in. We saw what was happening. This girl was going to have a reset. We saw what was happening. It's like, okay, time to go. And all of us got up and we went and got Ubers and got the hell back to the Airbnb because we knew what was happening, right? It's like, okay, well, the rest of us can finish tripping in the backyard, but she needs her room. So we got to go. So, we did have the presence of mind to get her out of there.
And that's so great that she had a strong, group of friends that were like recognize that and were able to take care of her like that. That's really important. But that's the funny thing about Iboga. Like I feel like after I did Iboga, like I'm so sensitive to everything now. Like even coffee, like especially in the years afterwards. Like I can't believe that I took as much medication as I did in the previous years. Cause now with Iboga, like a cup of coffee makes me feel like I can feel that. But I think that's also just being more connected and embodied, like connected with myself too. And instead of just like numbing and like avoid. So
I haven't touched caffeine since Iboga.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, there's a big difference for Cindy on all of her tolerances, from food to medication, cannabis, mushrooms, psilocybin, all of it. It's like everything went in the toilet. She has a couple of tokes off of a joint at a cannabis event that we went to. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so high. And I'm looking at her going, no way. You're kidding, right? I mean, from like 2,500 milligrams a day down to 30 puts her to bed.
Wow.
So I mean, I'm aware that it does do the reset for sure. So I mean, life's changed for you in many ways with foods and whatnot as well, Adrianne.
Just like with like when I was smoking too, I've quit smoking now, but like nicotine would just make me so much more anxious. Like coffee just makes me so much more anxious. I can't remember what it was, but there was something that I was so much more sensitive to. But but I like I said, I think it's just like being more connected to myself too and my nervous system. But I still drink coffee, but like I was drinking prior, like I would have like 3 or 4 Americanos a day, and now like one coffee, like a small coffee, and like that's it for me.
That's it. So it really did cut you back quite a bit.
Yeah.
The other thing that Iboga did.
Oh, sorry. Go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say the other thing that Iboga did for me is I had really bad allergies before I went.
Yeah.
And I haven't touched an allergy pill since.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you have any massive physical change like that?
I have psoriasis. So I have an autoimmune disorder, psoriasis, and after Iboga, it completely disappeared. Like I don't have a particularly like severe case, but for about a year after, it cleared up. Unfortunately, like it has come back. So I'm actually, that's why I'm kind of interested in Cambo and maybe doing another Iboga journey at some point. Like I can't say for sure if that was why, but I mean, I struggled. I'd had other periods of sobriety where my psoriasis did not clear up. But
I mean, it's worth a try to go back to Iboga and see if it goes away again.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
really like to try that. Yeah. Or even like microdosing. I have some like Ibogaine microdoses, so I feel like even at some point I need to set some time aside to do that.
Yeah, that's my next thing too. In the next week, I've got to take a day and have a microdose.
Yeah, because I'm not really sure how my body's going to react to a microdose. Like I want to make sure that I have a full day, and sometimes those are hard to come by where I can just be at home and relax and reconnect with that medicine, because it's been a really long time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Mark, we were talking about diets and changes and that sort of thing. I mean, you travel around and you go to the jungle and you live with the Bwiti and what's your diet like? I mean, there must be like, what do you, you've obviously changed everything about your diet as well, right? There's stuff you can't eat anymore and don't want.
I don't know. I'm pretty normal. Like in Africa, they tend to like, you're living out of the jungle and you're living on jungle meat and things like that. But they have been fairly like, colonialized. So you're starting to get, a lot of stuff infiltrates in, and you can see how it affects things. Personal diet though, like I think with the plant medicines, everything, it just increases your awareness towards self-love and taking care of yourself. So you learn that like a lot of sugar isn't really that good, wheat's not really that good, but I just still sit down, still learn to just kind of like, and there's also a balance of like sometimes eating, maybe something you want to, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of a crazy thing. Like if you just go like on this crazy diet that you're never happy and enjoying anything all of a sudden, then, you're kind of affecting your happiness there, so it's kind of a balance to see what really kind of works and then testing yourself out. But there's not any really big, like huge, crazy stuff. I don't drink alcohol, Iboga helped me deal with that and get over that. I stopped smoking marijuana in August, which is wild for me. But I have a really big, like I'm going to Africa this summer, and it's my 5th time there, and it's going to be every time you go there, it's some sort of next level, but it's next level in the sense that, as you move forward in the traditions, just like anything, you bestow more responsibility and more, more ownership. So, just when I was working with people, like I would find, that I was, almost like, because I take the medicine when I work with people, and I was almost detoxing, and it was just not, Iboga is kind of a very like dominant figure. He's a very dominant spirit, female, male spirit that, doesn't like a lot of too many like surgeons in the room. You know what I mean? So I would always find it would kind of like detoxing with the marijuana a bit, and then also smoking through. I had to be a purist. I've come to like, just, really clear so that I can just like really use the medicine, because when I'm working with the medicine, I need to be like a super clear channel for the to be able to communicate with my soul really clearly. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not slagging marijuana or anything like that. I mean, like I'm a cannabis grower. It's my main gig. Other than Iboga, I'm transitioning out of that. I've been doing it for 25 years, growing quads. So I'm well versed. I understand it's a beautiful medicine, but it also is a very mental medicine. Do you know what I mean? And I do find too, like, I really advise people, especially coming away. Like I watched Cindy, you're with different people, different vibes, different things. That is what it is. But the two-toke thing you're talking about right there, because you cleared your vessel so out, you know what I mean? And that spirit goes in, and she's like, like the Iboga is a medicine for your mind, and that's one thing, I know Adrianne can attest to, because she had a lot of anxiety coming into this. And, that's the difficult thing about working with a drug detox, is that you actually have to go through the initial stages of taking that drug out of someone's body. They've been relying on that. Her whole system, I can remember that, Adrianne, I can remember a day where we were like driving in the car, and, like we're learning this too. And like when you strip some away of everything they were leaning on, I didn't know what to give her, right? Like we're experimenting. We actually used kratom for a bit. She needed something, and so I've even used marijuana oils, different things. We've tried it all, but I mean, the way Gareth does do drug detoxes and the step down like that, switching someone onto a safe supply, like say like a morphine, and then stepping them down slowly off of it, and he integrates different things into it. Some people it works for, some people it doesn't. But I think that
everybody's different.
Yeah.
Everyone's different, and that reflects back to the beginning of this conversation of what you asked me is the diet.
Yeah.
It's a personal choice. So yes, my diet. I'm I make sure I'm healthier. I take my vitamins. I just came from Costa Rica and Mexico. I just got here. I've been 2 months. You know what I mean? I've been on the road, watching the water I drink, the food I eat. I pay attention. That comes with the awareness and the self-care. Like if you look at what's a name that drug addicts are given? Junkie. I swear you should see when you're doing drug detoxes, especially heroin or the fentanyl, the first thing that, they want to go, like, buy an astronomical bag of candy. You know what I mean? Or McDonald's.
Well, the sugar consumption is wild. Like what I used to consume in sugar when I was on opiates was crazy.
Yeah, craft dinner, McDonald's. The first thing they've got to do, let's go get some McDonald's. Let's go. It's just junk food. It's like that. They still haven't, they still need to not do good to their body for a little bit. This whole process about like, where do you want to be? Walking out the back door as a child, looking into the backyard, and your friend just showed up. That feeling of complete freedom and happiness. You know what I mean? Whether or not it's in between trauma as a young child or no trauma or whatever, just we've all had that glimpse of life. You know what I mean? The happiness. You know what I mean? And it's difficult to to really truly be happy if you're not taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So self-love is the best way to love yourself is to be yourself, and to respect yourself. And so these are all things that come with these traditions and these plant medicines. They zero you out and they leave you with nothing left but to face the truth. You guys were just talking about it with mushrooms. Like, it's not like it's going to change your plans. It's that your plans are going to have to go into the truth plan. You know what I mean? It's inevitable that you will be facing, a true reality, and whether you're lined up into it, and that not only goes for spiritual health, it goes for mental health, it goes for physical health. So if you're gonna, if you want to eat bad or eat something that's not healthy, you're gonna have to deal with the repercussions of it. If you want to think about bad, negative thoughts, you know what I mean? You're gonna have to deal with the negative repercussions of it. If you abuse nature, you pay the price. So what does that mean? Well, we are nature. You're not a part of nature. You actually are nature. So if you abuse nature, if you abuse somebody else, you know what I mean? You go feeding, your kids sugar, you're going to see what happens. You know what I mean? And if you go abusing yourself, whether it's on a food level or a negative thought pattern level, anything, you know what I mean? So it becomes ownership and responsibility, and it all comes really down to self-love. And, with these medicines, and especially Iboga, is so powerful that, sometimes you have to how do you get someone to love themselves? Because that was the ultimate goal with Adrianne. And I'm so stoked that she's embraced it. And that's funny, at the beginning of this podcast, her cat jumped up beside her, a new one. Maybe it's an old one. I don't know.
It's the same one, Buffy. Yeah.
Yeah, Buffy, and you just lost the other one. But I think that cat right there that you saw, that was the channel that we were able to grab. Like for some people, it's a child. For some people, I may, as crazy it is, you might get them to talk to a marijuana plant. Why do you love me so much? What am I doing for you? Like, how, you know what I mean? Like, it's whatever sort of tool is going to get that person to realize that they got to look after number one, and the soul is the goal. And so I think that health-orientated diet is something that is necessary to alter, change. The African diet might not be for you. They have short, curly hair, really tight skin. Their body fat's super low for most of them, But yeah, I think it's about discovering what's best for you and not being so hard on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Very cool. Well, I'd like to thank both of you for joining us here tonight and discussing both of your journeys and opening some more eyes and opening some more doors to our listeners and our viewers out there. Final shout outs. Give you an opportunity to mention to people how can they find you, websites you want to shout out to, companies, entrepreneurship, whatever. The floor is yours. We'll start with Adrianne. Go ahead. Shout out to you.
I don't have much of a social media presence or anything like that. Oh, what I should mention is I'm sure Nick and Tyler would be happy with me to bring this up. Dose 2 is coming. It's in the works. They're filming somebody else's journey. So I'm not going to share too much about what that's going to be. But yeah, if you want to follow like dosemovie.com, they have a social media presence. Check them out. And yeah, because their next project is like super
It's really
powerful.
exciting. Yeah.
It's really, really exciting. Lots of really cool stuff has happened. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah. Yeah. And thanks so much for having me. Awesome. It was so lovely to be here.
It was so awesome to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mark, shout outs to you.
Yeah, you know, if anybody wants to learn more info at IbogaSoul, well, I'm IbogaSoul. I've joined up with some amazing people like Chor Boogie and Elizabeth Bast. ElizabethBast.net is on there. We run retreats now in Costa Rica with Patrick and Michelle, actually. So yeah. Patrick, Michelle, like, you know, and it's a really cool thing we want to work into. You know, I just want to really say to anybody out there that is listening to this and deciding, you know, it's really up to you. You got to really want this. You know, Adrianne is an amazing example of someone like this wasn't easy. This system wasn't given to her. She's not some like white privileged kid who just got all the money paid for her to do this. You know, this is something that she made the choice to do. She didn't have any different something given to her than anybody else. You know, like the only thing that's different about her than some other addicts that I've worked with is that she's alive right now. You know, you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make him drink. You can lead an addict to sobriety, but you cannot keep him clean. So it's, you know, really up to them. And I just want to say how proud I am of you, Adrianne. This was unscripted and this is real. And I'm really happy to see where you are in your life. And thank you, women, Kim and Cindy, for embracing us and giving us the opportunity to share this message on your show.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Mark. Blessing to both of you. It's been a fabulous journey following both of you and getting to know you on a personal level as well as a professional one through our shows. Cindy and I are big fans of both of you personally as well as the projects that you've been involved with. Looking forward to the future for sure. Cindy, you got a shout out tonight?
I just the only shout out I have really is just a huge thanks to Adrianne and Mark. You know, back in June 2019 is when I first watched the show. Dosed. I went to it expecting to learn more about psilocybin, and that's all I thought. And then all of a sudden there was Adrianne meeting up with Mark and taking Iboga, and life was changing, and I knew it was my calling. I knew I had to head there. And if the two of you hadn't taken the moment to show me this journey, I wouldn't have gone there. And I might not be here today. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Awesome.
That means so much to me.
Keep going, and we're gonna have the opportunity to do Iboga at some point. Cindy.
Absolutely, that's a goal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's all go to Costa Rica.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Sure. or Africa in the summer.
Africa.
Yeah, you know what?
Absolutely.
Why not? Right?
Absolutely. Why not? In closing, I would like to give a shout out to you, our listeners and our viewers. Welcome to a new season here on Open Your Eye, a video podcast with a look at psychedelics as a medicine, speaking to patients and entrepreneurs, as well as shaman and other professionals in the space. I'd like to thank you for joining us past season, and I look forward to another year of enlightenment being shared across the airways. Thank you once again for joining us here on Open Your Eye, and we will see you on Psychedelic Tuesdays next week with Psychedelic Reporters with my joint host, Cindy Howell, and myself here on Pace Radio Network. Thank you very much to all of our sponsors that help put these shows on each and every single week here on Open Your Eye. And we'll see you all here, Psychedelic Reporters, next week and in 2 weeks' time on Open Your Eye. Thanks again for joining us, and peace out.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Growing your own vegetables, flowers, or even medicinal plants can be a challenge without the right equipment and proper know-how. At BMA Hydroponics, not only are they your urban horticultural experts and suppliers, but their staff holds the customer's needs paramount to making a sale. Family-owned with decades of experience and knowledge, they offer free advice in person, by phone, or email. BMA Hydroponics wants to ensure you have the advice you need, which is why you'll find tips and tricks on different ways to grow, like wick, ebb and flow, drip, or aeroponic system, as well as other helpful links at bmahydroponics.com. If you can't find what you're looking for, just let them know, and they'll do everything they can to get what you're looking for. At BMA Hydroponics, each staff member also possesses a federal exemptee MMAR license, making their strong suit empathy, experience, and dedication to their customers. Because when you know how to grow, you'll have results that make you proud. BMA Hydroponics in Belleville, Ontario. Visit bmahydroponics.com.
CP operates a medicinal cannabis signing clinic. If you want to grow your own medicinal cannabis and are located anywhere in Canada, then I'd like to suggest that you give them a call. They can be reached at 1-613-967-9888. That's 1-613-967-9888. And grow on with CP.
Pace Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
The People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network, found at paceradionetwork, provides its listeners with news, information, and a place to be heard. This is done through our 5 weekly live video and audio broadcasts that cover cannabis and psychedelic news, plus those we interview. We get started Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern with the Reefer Reporters. Then at 9 p.m. we're live with Canada Quebec. Tuesday brings you Open Your Eye or the Psychedelic Reporters at 7 p.m. Wednesday at 8, we are live with the Pace Radio Show, but we're not done yet, because on Thursday, the Reefer Reporters return with another Reefer Report. Meanwhile, once a month, Thursdays bring you the Grassroots Advocate, the Pace Radio Network's audio magazine. All these shows, plus more, are found right here on paceradio.net.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.